sit. So this little greeting routine is a great way to add confidence to Biscuit's life. He sits. You never, when a dog is insecure with people and new people, you never have them approach. You always send the dog to them, and I had Biscuit sit, which staying in a sit stay makes him more calm because his brain is engaged. He's not just standing around worrying about stuff. And also handing him a treat, and this is just simple lamb, like lamb chips, but the dogs really like it, and then sending him over, go say hi, like that, and you could even pet Biscuit if you want. Good, come. And obviously he, here you go, pups. We gave him a little bit too much. He tried to swallow it before he chewed it. Good boy. So he obviously knows this person, and we've been doing greeting routines with multiple people here because we have a bunch of people working here. Sit. But it's all about the pattern of this exercise, and all you have to do is do this exact same one, the same exercise at your house with people you know, and you just really have to practice doing my moves, because these moves and doing these exercises trigger this behavior. So you don't want to do whatever you did before. If you like this, how he's calm, how he's waiting, nope. And make sure, like when he jumps the gun like that, make sure he really waits, and you're never restraining. So this leash is always loose. With your right hand, you're going to pat his chest and say, go say hi, come, and then call him back. You see what's happening is that he's calmer because he wants to just swallow those. He's calmer because he's thinking, he knows how this goes. We've taught him this little game. In his mind, it's a game in a way that he loves to do it. So he can't wait to meet another new person. And I think we've probably done this with like 5 or 6 people now. And it's a great head start for you so that you can continue the same thing. When I come back for your lesson, we'll do it with you at your house as well. But he hasn't done the whole training program, but in the last 10 days or 12 days, whatever it's been, this is how far we've gotten. And he's actually done really well. And we'll just do one more, and I'll even show you, like, you can start adding the little basic sit stay where if he doesn't stay there, nope. Just recently started getting that better sit stay where he can actually handle somebody walking behind him and not popping up. Nope. We're gonna have to practice this a few times because he's obviously scared for the camera. He's just recently learned to sit stay well enough so that he doesn't pop up. And then, you know, the focus and the concentration it takes to stay in a sit stay and wait to go get the treat, because he knows there's a treat over there waiting for him. Go. That is, come. Good. That is what keeps him calm. And if his brain is engaged, he's actually working for you, which he is here. It's a very simple little job he's doing, but I'm orchestrating this whole thing. He knows exactly what's going to happen every time. It's just this pattern. He does this all the time with people. So now he'll start seeing people. If you practice this a lot, depending on how you do it, but if you do it exactly like this and you practice this a lot with all the tips I'm going to give you when I deliver him, he'll start seeing a new person and getting happy to see them because he plays this game with new people. And so he loves people because they always come bearing gifts. So remember, you never let somebody approach, because that will make a dog that's already insecure and unstable scared. You always ask them to wait, and you send the dog to them, and they already have a treat. And eventually you don't have to do this anymore because his perception of what it means to meet a new person has changed. But this is a great little exercise to do, and we're going to show you some other things as well. Okay. Sit. So this is something we do every day. He loves his mat because, yet again, another game that we've taught him that is actually training, but he doesn't know he's being trained because he loves it so much. So you walk him up to his mat, you have him sit, never restraining him. The leash is always loose. If he pops up before you release him, it's just a tap, and then he'll go back. Nope. See that? I didn't even do anything. I just let him go to the end of the leash. He went to that tension and he put himself back. I did say no as he did it, so you do say no. It's one of the few times that I actually use the word no in the training. He waits till I pat his chest. I say, go to your mat. I walk over with him and say down. Excellent, good. So this mat, using the mat is a fast track to a more solid downstay. Good. And of course I noticed when Biscuit came to us that his stay was not great, so we made it a lot better by practicing on the mat. And I practiced with all the dogs on the mat, and it works because it's a very specific place that you do only one thing on. So we're only doing this one behavior on the mat. No, and he has to wait. See how he's waiting? Nope. Make sure he really waits. Nope. Good, because that's part of it. If he's grabbing your hand, if you're tossing the food down, if you're doing anything concerning this exercise that is nervous, if you're handling him in any nervous way, or you're allowing him to be disrespectful, taken out of your hand or something like that, it's not going to be that good, because this is all about having his mind be calm, serene, focused with every step of this. So the reward, the delivery of the reward, good, and he will grab things and chew things sometimes when you talk too much, when you're doing a video like I am. So, nope. Good, but that's kind of an illustration of how all this works. When you have little things that you're having the dog do with you, and if he gets distracted or something because he is just a puppy, you just say no. He actually put himself back, but if he stood up, you just say no. Apply a little bit of tension, he'll go back. You're never forcing him down, but a little bit of tension on the leash will trigger him to go back down. Good. As you can see, all of this is very gentle. It's gentle but firm and consistent, the way that you do things. And if I wasn't talking to you right now, I would be saying nothing except for this. Good. When he takes the food, you want to say good, because later on, when we phase the food out, which I always phase most of the treats out in 3 to 5 weeks, you say good, and he gets a good feeling because of the way that you've been rewarding him. Good, just like that. He hears that good word, and because he's gotten a treat hundreds and hundreds of times when you said it, when you're not giving him treats for most things later on, he still loves that. Like, he feels good when you say that word, good. Here you go, buddy. Good. So this is the little exercise that we've been practicing. You want to designate something as the mat, because you're not going to use a doggy bed. You don't want to use anything that he already has an association with. You want to have something brand new that's clean, as far as what his behavior has been on it. Clean meaning he has no association with it. He only does this one thing. He goes there. We send him to the mat. No. Good. See how he waits? He's very smart, as you already know. You send him to the mat. You're the one that allows him to go on, like you saw me do. You're the one that allows him to come off. And he has fun on this mat doing this work for you. If he gets up, no. Remember I talked about that? We're still working on improving downstay, and this will translate to his downstay with no mat as well, in case you're wondering. So we use the mat for a few weeks, and like I said, he's only been here less than half of the usual time for the training, but we use this for a few weeks, and we start doing downstays off the mat as well. And this is could take months off teaching him a real solid downstay by using this mat in this way. And then you can use this mat in different spots, wherever, at a new spot, wherever you put the mat, he's going to have a rock solid downstay as time goes on. So he's waiting to be released. You come back next to him. Okay. Lead him off the mat, have him sit. Never repeating a command, ever. And then he's sitting, go, and release him to be free. Always pick up the mat, and see how he turned left. He wanted to really run back on there because he loves doing this. He loves the mat. Can't allow that, because if you allow him to hang on this or run past it, run over it, or anything like that, it will dilute the power of the mat. So he only goes on with your permission. He does all your stuff. As time goes on, I'd be able to drop the leash, walk out of the yard, come back, walk through these different gates, go in the house, leave him alone out here. That's the transition. See how he's jumping up like he wants to chew on something. Come! I'm going to call him away from it. Good. That's actually part of the next clip, but I just thought I'd throw that in there and show you. There's no more leave it and no and going and grabbing him, because all that does is perpetuate behavior, because he does something, you jump in with attention, the corrections, and it never goes away. But just use your recall and call him out of situations, and it's just so much easier for you. And you also will have a much better, an amazing recall, because you're always practicing it. And so we're going to launch right into how to do that. I'm going to set the mat down over here. When I'm practicing the recall, I'm always doing it the same way, because if you always hold the leash the same way and you do it the same way every time, it just becomes like second nature and you don't have to think about it. Now we're using a 6-foot leash, so at least you have 6 feet to call him back to you when he's on a leash. And a distraction, come! Good. You see how my right hand target is a closed hand. Make sure that you use that target, the little treat, is closed hand, because when you don't have a treat, it'll still work. Just, worst case scenario, he gets off his leash somehow out in public, he's about to run in the street, you don't have a leash, you don't have a treat, you just pretend like you do. Come! And he'll come running to you and this leash, and this target, good boy. And I didn't have any treat that time, but I loved him up extra, said good, the magic word, and he still probably feels like he got a treat. Makes him very happy. So always have this target hand that he comes to, his little nose, touches it, good, it opens up, he gets a treat, you pet him, okay? You practice in this way with the leash, with the reward, so that when there's no reward and no leash, it still works for you. You don't call him to this open hand because he sees it's empty. So you call him to this target and it works really well. And as you start doing more advanced things like getting him to walk next to you, you can use his target. He'll go wherever it goes, but we're not there yet. We're still just getting him to have a much more solid down, sit, and come, and the stay. It's all about the stay, of course. But that's how you practice the come command to make it so much better. Also, when you back away, the dog can't help it. And I'm not going to call him to another empty hand. Good, so I gave him a treat that time. When you back away, the dog is drawn to you. You plug in the come, and you back away, and he rushes to you. The come command is so good, becomes so good, and so instantaneous, and he runs back to you because of the way that you teach him. If you stand still, it's not half as good, and if you go towards him, a lot of dogs will run away. So when you have that command, you back away, and they see you backing away, and they just rush to you, and hundreds of times later, and I've already called him to me a few hundred times, probably just in the last couple of weeks. All he knows is he hears that command. He runs back to you, and good stuff happens. Come. Good. See how it'll work? Good. Even if you don't back away in real life, your back could be to the street. Your back could be against the wall or something. You can't back away. So you always practice in a place where you can practice the right way, like I have been, so that in whatever situation you have, he runs to you in real life. Good. Always with the leash. One last thing. If for some reason he's really distracted by something, it's come. Good. The tap, and as you're making him, developing a better recall in him, see, come. It's a little good. It's literally like, say he's going to go to something on the ground that's gross that you want to get him away from. He's going to jump on somebody, whatever it is. He's going towards another dog on the street, who knows, whatever it is, you tap at the same moment that you say come. So timing is very important, and you're literally tapping him on the shoulder almost, and he turns around, sees you backing away, and he'll come to you every time. So always practice that way, because he's not finished with the training, but he's got a handle on it now, and needs to be continued once he goes home so that it gets better than it is now even. leash walking. So today it's raining pretty hard and it's really wet out there, so we're not going to be on the street, but I can show you when I bring him back to you. The biggest enemy when you're walking him on the leash, any dog, is a tight leash. So you probably, or you may not even see it, but you're walking like this, he's pulling tension on the leash, creates stress and tension in the dog. So my way of doing it is to never have any tension at all. So if he, let's see, let's create a distraction, toss another piece of food, little lamb chip. Even with the lamb chip, I allowed him to get it, but if he goes to the end, I'm going to tap and release, tap and release. There's no training really. I mean, it is leash walking etiquette 101, which everybody should know from the first lesson, of course, but maybe it's not been made clear to you that the tight leash, forcing the dog to stay next to you, allowing the dog to, controlling like this, only makes the problem worse. So why not practice your come command, which gets the dog to come back to you? That solves the pulling right away, makes you the center of the universe every time. They ignore whatever you've called them away from. Or if you're just walking, just leash etiquette 101 is a loose leash. If he goes to the end of the leash, you just tap and release. It's a tap and release. There's no special collar on him. It's just a little regular collar that we're using. The harness, which he came with, is not a training thing. It's not a training device that any trainer would use, I don't think. It certainly doesn't help us because dogs pull from their chest, and if you're going to struggle with a harness, it just probably would promote pulling. So you use a secure collar that's not too thin because we don't want to have him choke or anything, but there's never a tight leash. You can't hurt him on a collar if you're handling him the right way. And just make sure that collar is secure, like this one. This one is his. It has his tags on it. And keep that leash loose. And also, there's always the sitting and waiting at boundaries, which I'm going to show you when I get to your house, and I'll show you how we do that. But we can't do the whole video now because it's so wet. I can't have him sit out here. It's just really wet. But your general rule is loose leash. Come. If he's pulling, you can always do that. Good boy. And you can also do, it's a little bit wet in here, but it's starting to dry out, so I'll still do, okay. Sit. Always, your body does the work. Okay, you're walking with him. You're always turning into him. Even if you're going to go, okay, come on, bud. If I'm going to go right, it's my opportunity to tap and go left. It keeps him right next to you, and the leash is loose at all times. And it's, see, tapping, sit. Good. And then always waiting to be released, always on a loose leash, go. So there's a lot, as you can see, there's a lot of practicing to be done if you're not doing these things right now, but it just starts to work so quickly if you do practice these ways of handling him. So that's going to help you out on the street a lot. Just making sure you're using your recall, your come command away from distractions, people, dogs, whatever it is that he was nervous about before, and also keeping that leash loose. But that entails me showing you in person as well, which I will. Now we're going to practice a little sit stay. Come! And call him to me. Good boy. And I'm always using my body. In dog training, body language is huge. So sit. See how I stepped into him? My body did all the work. I didn't have to drag him by turning the wrong way. You're always turning into him. Most dog training is done with the dog on the left. So we've been training him on the left. And I said SIT, and he went straight there. And if he hadn't, I would have just pulled up a little bit of pressure, not choking or hanging, and at the same time, so I'd switch this hand, from the leash from my left hand to the right hand, and I'd ease him down with my other hand, but it's just gentle but firm, if that's happening with you. Stay is implied, so we don't have to say stay anymore, of course. So stay, he knows that when you have him sit or down, it means to stay. And so now we're just increasing the level of and the length of time that he does stay. Little by little by little, we finally got him to be able to stay calmly without popping up when we walk around both ways, which is, something that every dog should be able to do, of course. Reward him like this. When you come back next to him, eye contact. He's looking straight at me. Hey, bud. straight down, good. He's literally looking at my eyes when I say good, and he gets a treat. Very powerful. It seems like a minuscule little thing, but it's very powerful. If you're doing this, and he's looking over there, wherever, it once again, I've used this phrase before, it dilutes your power. Eye contact at being above him, and at the moment he gets a treat. It's subtle, but it's very important. That ties in with a lot of other things as well. Whenever you can do that, we do it with the sit stay. And then to release him, there's two ways to release him out of the sit stay. If you're going to keep walking, you're going to say, okay, and he's going to walk with you. If you're going to release him to be free, if you're done training, you want to give him some free moments, sit. He's after little crumbs of treats on the ground. That's why he keeps going down there. So the other way to release him to be free is just loose leash as always, tap his chest and say, nope, go, and he's free.